the top of my notes. I said the great name for this episode would have been, well, that backfired, because like Tamra tried to start 4 different feuds. She tried to get Gina mad at Shannon. She tried to get Jen mad at Shannon. She tried to get Heather mad at Emily, Heather mad at Katie. Almost all of them backfired. And then there was a lot of shit talk after that, like literally with Emily and Shannon, literal backfiring.
We gonna stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way.
Ahoy!
Happy Monday, everybody.
Hi.
I think we should make people guess, is this real Nate or AI Nate?
Ooh, it's a good question.
Only you can tell if you go on to our YouTube page and subscribe, and then you can leave a comment underneath this video and say, we believe it's AI Nate or real Nate. Then you'll be able to tell.
That's the real reason for the sunglasses. It has nothing to do with the light sensitivity and everything to do with AI can't figure out eyes. So my eyes will look really weird. That's the reason.
That's also why you don't talk with your hands like I do too.
I was gonna say, hold up your hands if you have like webbed sprouting fingers.
I have like 12 fingers. Yeah.
but actually, in all honesty, we're like 6 subscribers away from the 500 that we wanted by Halloween, and Halloween is on Thursday. So I need 6 listeners out there to subscribe. We're so close. We're so close. Please make our YouTube dreams come true.
Clicking subscribe is cheaper than giving us pieces of candy. So it's our treat.
1000%.
It's our treat. It's your treat for a bunch of tricks.
Mm-hmm.
I just called us like prostitutes.
We are whores for Bravo.
I wanted to, before we get started, I wanted to issue a correction / clarification from last week, from something I said that probably nobody else cares about, but it bothered me when I was listening back, when I was talking about the Ryan and Shohei Ohtani thing. Jordan, you asked me, is there a chance that Ryan didn't know he was laundering stolen money? And as the more I thought about it, I'm like, yes, there's a chance he didn't know it was stolen. There's a chance he thought it was directly from Shohei Ohtani and not stolen from Shohei Ohtani. Yeah. But he still knew he was laundering money from illegal gambling. So he knew he was committing a crime, but it is because listening back, like I said there's no way he didn't know, but there is a chance he thought it was directly from Ohtani. Yeah. But again, still a crime.
He knew what he was doing, but he wasn't asking where it was coming
from. Because questions lead to answers.
That's how keep your blinders on.
Yes.
And just Speaking of orange, well, that's what we're here for this week. Yeah. But I had my own special run-in.
Woohoo! Tell the people all about it, Jordan.
Guess which housewife of Orange County I met this week. I'll give you a clue. I don't really leave a certain bubble in LA, and this one happens to also live in that bubble in LA.
Taylor Armstrong.
Anywhere near her. But, Heather Dubrow. She finally had the honor of meeting me. That was cool though. It was guess where it was. Where else would I run into someone? Where else?
Starbucks.
Where else would I run into anyone with as fancy as her? But the other fanciest person I know is at Kathy's. But so I played it cool. I didn't take a picture because my thinking is like, okay, like when I ran into at that party in the summer, like Gina Kirschenheiter and stuff, I'm like, I'll probably never see them again. I'm just gonna fan out, ask for a selfie. But Heather Dubrow, I was like, we're gonna see each other again. This is just the beginning of a long adoption process where her and Terry, you know. I figure by Christmas I'll be wearing matching PJs. I'll be unwrapping gifts in the penthouse.
Your goal should be to get into a fight with her, and then because you're guaranteed of her saying, "We'll talk about this tomorrow," and then you get a second date with Heather. Genius.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. Oh my God, you're learning so fast, Nate. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's like when you accidentally leave something at a date's house, and you're like, "Oh, now I got to go back to get said thing."
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I should have accused her of like lying. Or, no, I should have accused her of stealing something. I should have been like, is that purse yours? Because, and then, but that was cool. I was hoping I had no idea if she'd be there or not, but like I kind of manifested it because I was okay. I was reading her Instagram before I went, and I was like, oh, she's traveling. I just had she went to Italy, then like Boston. She was meeting all her kids, but I think it was just for me. I know I have that special place in her heart, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably poorer than Gina. So she has a lot of fixing up to do. I'm a good project.
She loves
Yeah.
a project.
But so that was that. But I guess we should get into the actual episode this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, and it kind of starts with Heather calling Jen back into the room after
Mhm.
her
Like
blow up
I
on
mean,
camera.
direct continuation. Like it's literally moments. It's not even moments later. They redo or they re-show the fight, so it's continuous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was, it was a good producing moment from Heather to do that, to kind of continue this a little bit. However, in a lot of ways, it fell flat because Jen was just not having it. She was like,
Mhm.
no, basically like, F you, Heather. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, and especially with the whole thing of like, this was 2 years ago. It's just like, what are you talking? Like, excuse me, you're mad at people still for thinking that you called the paparazzi on you. And you don't think that I have a right to be mad that somebody like might have been calling background checks on my boyfriend 2 years ago? Like, so like the hypocrisy here. Everybody's a hypocrite on these shows. Guess what? We're human beings. We're hypocrites, all of us. But like Jen was like, shut the fuck up, Heather. Like I kind of loved it. She was like, without saying shut the fuck up, she was telling Heather to shut the fuck up.
Did you catch where Jen threatened? Well, I guess we see it now what happened, but she
Mhm.
kind of threatened Tamra there. She said, be careful, your mouth has gotten you in trouble before.
Mhm.
When she was talking about the accusations Tamra's throwing against Ryan. I mean, what she was referencing obviously was Jim Bellino, but we're right back at it. Hasn't Tamra been served by Ryan as of last episode? Cease and desist.
Yeah, she's been served cease and desist. So, which is just more like it's a warning. It's like a yellow card.
But-
In football,
But
soccer.
but what she was laying down right there in this episode that's all about in this season that's all about housewives and lawsuits, she was like, I'll sue you again. I was like, ooh, I like that move. She was what's the word in that Bravo sphere? Activated.
Mhm.
She was very activated in that moment.
She definitely was. Well, and the way that Tamara was like, well, that was 2 years ago. And last year we weren't in a very good place. And it was like, stop this, because Tamara, you're willing to bring up anything in the past and use it against people when it like serves you. You're always willing to do that. And also when later on, when Tamara and Heather are talking about it and Tamara's explaining those text messages to Heather, she's saying that, I mean, and look, as we've come to realize, as the fourth wall has fallen a bit more on these shows, that these people talk behind the scenes and they scheme, especially around like reunions and stuff like that. So, but at least when it comes to this, that with the whole the accusation, which is completely false, apparently, about Ryan being involved in these timeshare scams. It seemed to be, from what I could like freeze frame and read, and from also what Tamara said too, was that Shannon seemed to be more interested in the fact that Leslie Beador's ex-husband was involved in this timeshare scam. And Tamara is a little bit more involved in the Ryan might be involved in this timeshare scam. Do you know what I mean? So it was like Shannon's like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Leslie Beador's ex-husband, my ex-husband's current wife, who I don't like either of them. There might be some information on this. So maybe, yeah, you should find out more about this because da 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 da. Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't know.
Shannon was brave to do this, smart too. I mean,
Mhm.
it shifted the focus back to Tamra, but it was brave because, as we're going to find out later in the episode, tip of the iceberg, Tamra documents and catalogs and stores everything.
Mhm.
And so she's going, Shannon has just discovered text search. Tamra probably has a wing in her house, dedicated archives.
She's got a whole external hard drive, like with screenshots saved.
Heather has gift wrapping rooms. Tamra has screenshot rooms. and it's like, okay, and you see it, as we'll see coming in this episode. Tamra's like, okay, which one of the million little things am I going to pull out about you? Like, what is it? It's like a powder keg. Like,
Mhm.
it's like one throws one bomb, the whole world's going to explode. So
I also think what we're seeing, and there's another place in this episode too. What is said and then how Tamra retells things are two different things.
mhm.
Like where she puts the emphasis on certain things. I mean, Grant, I think we all do this in our lives, like to make our point come across. But I think Tamra does it to um there's always a means to an end, like because she wants to make sure that for certain she doesn't look like the bad guy. Shannon looks like the bad guy. Gina looks like the bad. Somebody else looks terrible. Katie looks
Mhm.
terrible. Not me though. I wasn't a part of this. Even though if we read receipts, you kind of are. You're just like wording it a different way now.
Well, what comes across to me this episode is Shannon and Tamra are equally dirty.
Mm.
And they're both separating themselves from it. Like, I think they were both involved in all this. And then when one gets upset, no, you did it. And they just are pointing fingers, but they're clearly both their hands are dirty.
Mm-hmm.
They just have a different way of approaching it. Like Tamara gets aggressive and Shannon cries. I don't know how to put it, but it's
Flash
just
laughs because at the end, which we'll talk about later,
Yeah.
she laughs. She laughs at Tamara. She's like, "You were all up in this stuff."
Mhm.
She was like, "Fine, I'll take it all." Because I think like Shannon's like, "Look, we've both been doing this stuff. If you want to act like you're the better person, fine. But this is all going to come out that you and I were both dirty. So, like, let's just." If you want to go there, we can go tit for tat and we can both make ourselves look terrible right now. So here we go. Anyway, we'll get to that later.
I love that there was just this, the continued heated fight. Jen's yelling, "You have no soul, fuck you." Tamara's being her smug where she's doing the clapping, saying bye-bye. She also says, "I'm not going to talk to you when you're yelling like this," like just doing the whole condescending thing. Jen storms off. And then the first thing Heather said is, "You know what? She looked really good. I had stomach envy." Like immediately goes to like, just, wow, yeah, Jen looked great.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Tamara had to immediately go into, well, yeah, it's a tummy tuck, the tummy tuck. She couldn't compliment her.
And that she has no belly button. And I was like, well, I
Yeah.
clearly see a belly button there, actually.
Well, it was Heather who told her like, don't talk about,
Yeah.
don't out. And then she was like, and then don't out plastic surgery. She's the wife of a surgeon. And Tamara was like, no, she's open about it. She has no belly button. I didn't know that's a thing.
I didn't. I actually heard about it a few years ago with, I can't recall the celebrity, but they talked about, because they showed a photo of them on the beach. They didn't have a belly button. I was like, what the hell? And then I heard that's the reason.
Yeah, because they have to, I mean, everybody's anatomy is a little different, but they usually have to like kind of cut out your belly button because they have to reposition everything, like your skin on your abdominal walls. They have to reposition it. So a lot of times they have to reposition your belly button. And some people lose their belly button.
It'd be funnier though if it was on, like, shifted over to your side, so your belly button's just on your rib cage. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be a third nipple then. Finally, we see Tamara with makeup back on her face. So, and done. And then they go to the caviar house. So, and they continue like champagne and caviar, and Gina joins them. And I do think it's interesting because, because obviously Heather and Tamara tell Gina what happened. But Gina says, well, wait, like, if we're in a bad place though, are you going to do that to me, Tamara? Like if we're like, because Tamara says Jen and I were in a bad place when that happened to us. She's like, well, so if we're in a bad place next year, are you going to do this to me? Like, is that what's going to happen? And that's exactly exactly
Yeah.
what Tamra's gonna do.
Yeah, you
Because that is
yeah.
what she does.
It's not. I mean, it was in the future, but it was it was like a day in the future. She found out about it.
Yep, exactly. And then we've got, and then at the same time, we've got Katie and Emily and Jen at the pub, and then Shannon, I think, is out with her daughters,
Mhm.
meeting up with her daughters. But you've got the back at the Caviar House, the whole story about Katie's daughter, Kylie, babysitting for Emily, and apparently that was a whole thing where I was
It's
just like,
so
I don't think Katie definitely doesn't look good at all, and Katie
no,
looks very calculated now.
this is where I think the turning point will be for Katie,
Yeah.
because we know she had a rocky start, and then she seemed to be getting along with Emily. But I said a few episodes ago in recent interviews, Emily says you have to watch the episode, you have to watch the season play out and see what Katie turns into. Like she was saying, Katie, she does not like Katie. But last week they were like besties,
Yeah.
and now Katie dragged her little 8-year-old third grader kids into an argument. And yeah.
When Tamra brought that up at that caviar lunch, was she trying to get Heather to be mad at Emily? Because Tamra didn't mention Katie at first. She said, "Oh, Heather, Emily's kids are talking shit about you." But then Heather immediately heard that and goes, "This has got to be Katie." Immediately, like, connected the dots. But I wasn't sure if Tamra's trying to throw Emily under the bus first, or if she's just trying to throw everybody under the bus.
I think she's just trying to throw everybody, whatever sticks.
Yeah.
But I do think she was trying to throw more Katie under the bus, because she said, "Oh, I was at this candle making with Katie and her daughter," and she goes, "Oh, Kylie, oh, listen to this." And so Kylie tells us the story, da da da, and then the next day, Gina and I are at breakfast with Emily, and I tell Emily this, and Emily's like, "Whoa, no." Because the boys told me that Kylie was telling them stuff. And she's also like, "Shane and I never talk about," basically, "we never talk about the show in front of the children," is what basically Emily was saying. So, I think she was kind of trying to do both, like throw maybe Emily under the bus a little bit, but more so Katie. And I wrote a note on my second watching. I was like, you know what? Katie could have been a really good first season villain if Tamra wasn't such a dick.
Yeah.
If Tamra hadn't gone for Shannon so hard this season, Katie really could have been the sniper from the side villain. You know what I mean?
I'm curious what the conversations between Katie and Kaylee were then, because Kaylee seems super smart and doesn't seem like she's easily be manipulated. So she would know that what her mom was doing. She wouldn't. So I'm like, what in the world is Katie telling Kaylee about Heather that would make Kaylee go along with it?
Kaylee is the daughter, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you pointed out she has a big TikTok
And she's
following, and she's an influencer.
Yeah.
Her mom is now on TV, and she's kind of grown, so she doesn't fit into the little play dates so much. So Katie has been giving Kaylee opportunities to have screen time and get exposure.
Yeah,
So,
it wasn't like a mother manipulating her daughter to do something that she wants. It was like, "Oh, I'm going to just get my daughter on my side, and she'll choose to do that."
Honestly, this could be also mother-daughter bonding time of like, how do we grow both of our businesses?
right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah,
That Katie, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
She's not a
they're in
child.
cahoots.
Yeah.
They're in cahoots with this, because also Kaylee, in a lot of ways, obviously knows how social media works, knows how the new media works, and so she's got her finger on the pulse. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah. She's even inserted herself in the season on social media, making TikTok dissing the other housewives. This is her. I feel like it was her moment to shine. She wanted to get in, like the Jersey kids, things like that, where they become part of the drama with the castmates.
Yeah.
And then Tamra kept calling Katie the C word over and over, and then actually said, "I can't be eating caviar and calling somebody the C word." And it's like, well, in London, you actually can. Nobody in that bar, in that restaurant, would have batted an eye at you constantly using the C word over there.
Well, and then Gina had the best like line after that. She's like, "Well, caviar does come from one."
True.
I didn't even think of what she meant by that. Yeah.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I was like, yeah.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it was like a cutout though. This is a little earlier though. Oh, the way Gina was talking about Shannon's daughters, she said daughters,
Yeah,
like
caught
Teresa does. And I was like,
Daughters.
Yeah, I think a few weeks ago I asked you, like, I didn't realize where Gina was from because she doesn't really have, unlike Emily, who uses like Midwesternisms. Gina doesn't, but when I heard that I was like, oh wow, oh I definitely know where she's from now.
yeah.
This like segment was great too because Emily says in her confessional, Jen needs to understand Tamra has no boundaries when she doesn't respect you, and she clearly doesn't respect Jen, which is true. I feel like that confrontation was the first time she'd ever seen Jen have a backbone, and then it ends with Heather in her confessional saying like, I was really impressed. I mean, I think it was the first time they saw she's not a pushover. So,
Yeah.
because if Tamra operates as a bully, she needs someone to stand up to her for her to back down.
Yeah. Which is also why I think it's so backfiring on her, even with Shannon, because Shannon is finally standing up. And I said this actually in the astrology episode, the one that actually I can't remember because there's two, the one that just aired, the one that's coming up, that I don't think that a lot of what Tamra's doing to Shannon is because she doesn't want Shannon to grow or become a better person or get well, because where does a lot of Tamra's storyline go? Like, because a lot of it is propping up Shannon and like trying to be the best friend to Shannon, who is this terrible, like you hate, Jordan, you hate the coddling of Shannon Beador.
Well, because it's fraudulent. She's not
right.
a solid
But
person.
if she gets well, then there's no coddling of Shannon Beador. And then Tamra doesn't have that storyline anymore.
Right.
Of the coddling of Shannon Beador. So if she keeps pushing her of like, you're a drunk, you're this, you're that, and hoping that she'll fall off the wagon. And it's just like anything, like we've all been through a weight loss journey, but also like I likened it to, if you've either lost a lot of weight or you've gone through a divorce, your friends change around you, and some of them don't want you to get healthy. Like they want you to be in those old patterns, those unhealthy patterns and stuff like that. And I think that Tamra is that friend to a lot of people, actually, not just Shannon, not just Vicky. I think to Jen as well, because I have a theory about why Tamra hates Ryan so much. Because of what she said in the fight at the final fight at Windsor when they're there. So I don't want to like say it, I guess, until we get to that fight. So that's my theory. So yeah.
Hang on for a minute, kids.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm like, but yeah. Because then we go to etiquette class, and there, I mean, because there's like almost like so many dinners with fights in them. I'm like, which one?
Yeah,
like I have to take the notes. So I'm like,
that's
okay.
why they kind of. It's just a series of. Meal-esque sit downs. So which one are we at now?
When I couldn't tell because of the lighting outside, I couldn't tell which ones were lunches, which ones were dinner. I thought the etiquette class, it was light outside, so I was like, oh, maybe this is a lunch, because I couldn't keep track of the days. And then at the end, they're like, oh, we should all get some sleep. I'm tired. I'm like, tired? I thought it was lunchtime, but nope. I guess that was dinner.
I feel like the lighting at that place was different because I thought it was lunchtime too.
Exactly.
Like, oh, okay.
It was their etiquette lessons were very funny.
Oh my gosh. I was just like, no. I will say this though. Even though I just called Katie that she could have been like a great villain this season, I do need her to tell me about those poop pills that her GI doctor recommended, because I might need those for my trip. So I need to know what they are.
It's funny you mentioned the word earlier. I at the top of my notes, I said the great name for this episode would have been, well, that backfired, because like Tamra tried to start 4 different feuds. She tried to get Gina mad at Shannon. She tried to get Jen mad at Shannon. She tried to get Heather mad at Emily, Heather mad at Katie. Almost all of them backfired. And then there was a lot of shit talk after that, like literally with Emily and Shannon, literal backfiring. Literal backfight. Yes.
Literal backfiring.
Yes. I mean, we never actually did we get an answer about if those pills work for Emily? Because she gave the ladies warning saying if I have to get up suddenly, but she never did. So I guess
Well, at least we didn't
assumed.
see it.
Thank God.
Mhm.
But it was just very funny, like the producers, the editing of cutting when they're going through all these etiquette lessons, and then they cut back to times in the past where they broke every one of these rules. You know, the throwing the napkin one, then sit upright, never sit in the back of your chair, and they cut back to, I don't remember, I think it was Emily or somebody falling out of a chair when it was very good editing.
When Heather had to ask, is pointing okay?
Oh my gosh.
That is, she does talk with her fingers like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely where I remember she's not from LA. That's very like it's aggressive to me. It's a little East Coast for my Gentle Valley upbringing. I'm like, whoa, too intense.
And then after all the yelling and arguing at this etiquette dinner, I guess, I thought Gina had the best line that could be the tagline for the entire show, where she said, as a group as a whole, we're not very demure, we're not very mindful. And I was like, well, that's just your tagline for the entire show. That's everybody. I didn't realize that line was a thing all the way back then. Like, I know the very demure, very mindful's a thing now, but they recorded this back in what, March?
No, but these are confessionals, and confessionals.
Oh, the confessionals, right. That's right.
I made a note of that because I wanted to look up when did that viral video break.
I didn't
very
think about
mindful,
it. I
very
forgot
demure.
about that. Yeah,
because she definitely pulled a social media, a viral social media line for that.
Yeah. I did like that Jen at that dinner pulled what Shannon hadn't been able to do, and I'd wanted Shannon to do, of like Jen saying, you leave. You're always telling people to leave. You leave. I was like, yes, Jen, tell her to leave. Tell Tamra to leave. Tell her to get the fuck out of here. Oh my gosh. And because also this is another thing, when Shannon calls Tamra a liar, automatically, Tamra says, you're a liar and you're a drunk. There's always this like escalation with Tamra. It's not just like, I need to defend myself. And then I need to call you something worse. I need to like deflect away from me. So it's like, you're a liar and you're a drunk. And it's like, let's take it back and let's focus it back on you. Not the bad thing I did. Let's go back to all the bad things that you do.
And then somebody finally called Tamra out for always bringing up the alcohol. Gina was like, can we not talk about alcohol anymore? You keep doing this.
Mm-hmm. That part felt Tamra's delivery. It lacked passion. It was recycled. She didn't deliver it where I was like, oh, it was just like, now you're getting lazy. Mm-hmm. You need a new line. She did though, which I caught. She said drunk and not alcoholic this time. Mm-hmm. Which is like, I think because they have asked her to soften up a little. So instead of giving her something clinical to be locked away for rehab, she's now just like, you're sloppy, which is true. There is a pattern of Shannon. I mean, I think all these women, because they party, they drink, they've been doing it together for years, they do forget certain things they've done. And I've always wondered, like, does Tamra fake drink so that she can remember all? How evil would that be? I think it'd be, but if she pretended to drink, got them all drunk, so she could just, like I talked about, her archive of screenshots and evidence.
Well, some people can remember things better when they're drunk than other people can. Like I remember things pretty okay. Like, I mean, granted, I'm not saying I have the greatest memory when I'm drunk, but other people, like, I've never blacked out. Drunk, whereas like
I haven't either.
Exactly.
That's
so you go through large swaths of your drunk life not remembering things, whereas I do remember things. It doesn't mean I remember everything, but I do remember things. Whereas there's some like, so if let's say hypothetically, this is a hypothetical. Hypothetically, if Shannon's a blacker outer and Tamra is not, Tamra will remember things when the two of them are drunk that Shannon wouldn't necessarily. And that's a hypothetical there. I did another like thing that Tamra does that was brought up in 2 dinners, which was this one and then the Windsor one, is that all this, it was like, I think either Heather or Gina was trying to get her to like, apologize to Jen. And she's like, what do I need? I've said I'm sorry. Like, I'm like, it was like, what would you like me to apologize to you for? And it's like, and Jen was like, you don't need to apologize. Basically, like, if you don't know what you are sorry for, I don't want a fucking apology. And so she's like, we're good. And she's like, no, I'm good. And she's like, oh, we're good. She's like, no, we're not good, but I am good. Like, I know it's that whole like quiet of, I know exactly who you are now, and I don't want to fuck with you anymore. Like,
that
was,
it was like an assassin. Jen was so calm and collected where she's like, yeah, I'm good. We're not good. Shut your fucking mouth. And I was like, oh, and it was so much calmer than when she screamed it earlier. But I'm like, wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I loved it. I was like, yes. Yeah.
And then we got the lovely enema scene, like we briefly discussed earlier, because that was necessary for sure.
I mean, full disclosure, I don't believe that I have ever had to have an enema since being like a baby or a toddler or something like that. So I wouldn't even know how to administer an enema. Even to myself, like I was like,
Shannon, I hate to even discuss it, but Shannon was marketing a line with Dr. Moon.
I mean, she loves a colonic. So the woman loves to clean her bowels.
She figured out how to do it herself.
Yeah.
Nate, you didn't watch back then, but her first husband, David, which I understand now why he ran away, because he had to administer one on camera to her. And one of the most disturbing scenes, it got like, I don't want to go, it got caught or something. It was just things and okay. And they're divorced now. So
I was watching that and Shannon's like doubled over in pain. She said like in the Sprinter van, she said, I'm going to throw up. She has to get out. And then she's like, oh, I haven't pooped in 3 days. And I was like, 3 days? Oh, please. That's nothing. That's nothing. After my second hip replacement, went 14 days, Shannon. I went 14 days. 3 days, please.
I did say, like, I kind of was like, 3 days without a poop? I was like, I mean, I would be uncomfortable though too.
Uncomfortable, yes, but she was being so dramatic of I have to get out, I'm gonna throw up, and doubled over in pain. I mean, granted, everybody's different, so but still, I was like, 3 days, come on.
Yeah. Well, also somewhere around there, because I keep my notes kind of in order. Like there was the talk, or like somehow Tamra told Heather about the Tamra Shannon conversation about the Gina Travis stairs thing. And that's another, I was like a little bit confused about that exactly because
I know this
again,
one.
it sounds like another thing where one thing was being said between Shannon and Tamra, like they were trying to find out some stuff for the reunion, like it was nefarious, but that Tamra is now selling it as Shannon was like, we've got to get this info to go against Gina.
Wait, like, this is where I was saying earlier when we were talking about it, that they both do that. Tamra and Shannon do it. So for Shannon, it was showing, who was it? She showed Jen her the segment of the Ryan text, and Tamra was like, show the whole convo. This time, it was that there were rumors back then. There were like tabloid articles saying that Gina had pushed Travis down the stairs at her home. Very like Kelly Dodd and her mother. Remember those rumors?
Yes.
And then so that remember Gina and Shannon weren't in a good place after Gina's DUI.
Mhm.
And the way Tamra puts it in there is that Shannon was like, we need to find out, like get a police report or something, contact Taylor Armstrong's new husband, not Russell, the one she's married to now, obviously. He's a big lawyer. And so they were like, because she was on last season or whatever. And they're like, can he help us find like the paperwork on it, the records? And Shannon supposedly was going to be her takedown for Gina last season at the reunion.
Yeah. But the thing was that it had already though like kind of come out that wasn't real, that was something that had been planted by Travis's ex-wife too. So it's like, this is my thing, is that was Shannon trying to find it to be the ultimate smoking gun, or was she trying to find out if it was real, either to A, use as a smoking gun if it was real, or B, to find out like, well, if it's not real, if it's just his ex-wife, then I don't want to like get caught up in that. Does that make sense? Like, I want to find out both ways.
In normal world, but we're talking about housewives and two housewives who weren't friends at the time. So I think I think it would have been I think it would have been Tamra and Shannon. I'm not saying Shannon was all for it. I think they're both pointing their fingers at each other. But I wouldn't say Shannon was just watching out for Gina. She wanted, she was going into the reunion.
No, but I mean, like Shannon wasn't going to bring it out if it was fake. Do you know what I mean?
Like verify the info.
She wants to verify it to make sure that it is real. Because if it's not real, then she's not going to bring it up and make herself look stupid. And that
sued again.
So yeah, that's what I meant. But yeah, like because that's where later on, like Shannon's like is laughing at Tamra and go, you were all over that. We were both in that. She admits, she's like, we were both in that. And she was like, you're trying to make yourself look clean, like you weren't a part of this when it was both of us. I mean, also like that day, Tamra and Heather wearing their little bows in their hair. Like, I'm sorry, I am over this, and I am over women. Look, you could wear whatever you want, but in my opinion, those two wearing bows that day was a subtle hint to try to make themselves look girly and younger and a little bit more innocent than they actually were. Like, look, this subtlety, if you don't think that these women don't speak through their fashion choices to try to like make things look a certain way, they absolutely do. And that was one example of it. Shannon does it by like showing up to places not wearing makeup and things and looking a little raggedy to try to look like a little sadder and stuff. And
a little more sympathetic.
Yeah. And Tamra has been doing it with wearing these fucking bows to try to make herself like seem more like innocent. What? I'm just a girl.
I'm just a 60-year-old girl on my 4th facelift.
Tamra just thought, like, the build up earlier in the episode, and even when they, at the commercials, when they showed coming up, Tamra really thought she was going to get Shannon get Gina pissed at Shannon. And she's like, Shannon did this. Then Gina looks at Shannon and says, is that true? And Shannon's like, no. And Gina's like, okay, I believe you. Like, she saw right through it. Everybody knows that Tamra's a liar. So they don't believe anything she says.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like it was going to be this big buildup of Gina hating Shannon, and it was nothing.
It also, like, because you could see that Gina wasn't falling for it a lot when Tamra came out with this information, because Gina was like, okay, well, yeah, like now I'm going to have a problem with Shannon, but I got a problem with you. Because why are you taking so long to tell me this information?
Yeah.
Like you're plotting, you're holding on to this information to use me as a pawn. And she called it directly. She's like, we're pawns. Jen, you and I are pawns in their argument between each other. Like, and in a lot of ways, I mean, the way that I see it, that it's more Tamra's argument against Shannon, and Shannon is retaliating and she is using like Jen, but like it really is Tamra trying to use everybody else. Like, here's what Shannon does. Get mad at her for me. Like, let me show you.
What this reminds me of is older Beverly mid series Beverly Hills when it became like LVP versus maybe Kyle. Right now it's Shannon versus Tamra. They're heavyweights, and everyone else is collateral damage.
I would agree.
So who would Jen, Gina, they're kind of like the brand. You know, these women are being just used as tools to get at the two heavyweights. So Pawn is right, like what you said.
But they're not really falling for it though, which kudos to them for kind of for being able to see through it a lot. And I think what they're seeing through is they're seeing through Tamra, or at least they're just like, at least they're like, the horse that we're betting on this season is Shannon and not Tamra.
And that's why I said the backfiring thing. Like everything, the only thing Tamra did in this episode when she was trying to stir up shit was get Heather mad at Katie. That's the only one that stuck about Emily's kids. Everything else backfired on her. Yeah. Jen wasn't really mad at Shannon. Gina wasn't really mad at Shannon. And the way you described her, Jordan, as a gremlin, that's all I can see now. And it's a perfect description. It's just perfect. Just the thing, you know, the again, like last week, the clapping, the just really annoying things. The you know, when she's arguing with Jen and she said, "Oh, is Ryan going to put out a hit on me?" And then even at the last thing, which we'll get to, when she just flat out was, you know, she and Shannon are yelling at each other, and she just says to Shannon, "What? Why don't you hit me? Are you going to hit me?" And I even wrote down in my notes, I'm like, "Please do. Please just hit her."
But that's the thing, is that like Tamara's that person. She's that little, I'm sorry, she's like that little yippy dog who like gets all up in your shit and won't just stop like yipping at you until like it's like till you have to like literally kick it away, because you're like, you try to do all the nice things of like pushing it away and closing a door, and you're like, and then finally it's like you're like, oh, but they're like, she's just that person who's like, hit me, come on, hit me, I dare you to hit me,
I want you to.
And she gets up in your face, like she moves her body across the table at these women.
Well, I think I said that last year. I think that's what she's going for here. One thing, I mean, she's the potster, she's the villain. One thing they don't have on this series yet that I can think of is like a New Jersey style. She wants a Jennifer Aiden moment. She wants someone to throw a drink. I just hit my own head. Oh no, she's the one who did it, but that was a glass of wine at Gina Kia. But
and
I think she wants
in Jennifer Pedranti's face.
She wants someone to smack her. It would guarantee her place on the show and get rid of someone she hates, and it would be a ratings bonanza. Also, she's baiting these women.
She's totally, but also I think she thinks in a lot of ways it makes her look less trashy, because she's the one who really actually wants to get physical with these women. Like you can see it in her. It's something inside of her that like her quote unquote trauma. And I'm using that just because I hate her so much. Like I'm putting her trauma in quotes, but like, because also, okay. So this is where I'm going to get to where I think that she hates, my theory of why she hates Ryan so much, because when it was like, when Jen is like, you hurt people, like, why are you trying to hurt me so bad? And she's like, well, Ryan, and she yells, well, Ryan hurt me. And everybody's like, how the fuck did Ryan hurt you?
Yeah.
And then I was seeing on TikTok, Jen on Jeff Lewis's Sirius XM show. And she was saying how, you know, before when Ryan was like first coming in to Cut Fitness, all the women, they're like, oh, it's Hot Gym Guy. They just called him Hot Gym Guy. And Tamara would always be like texting her, like, Hot Gym Guy's here, da, da, da. They'd always joke about Hot Gym Guy and everything. And Jen is like, my life is falling apart. Like, my husband and I are breaking up. Like, everything's going to shit. I've got like 13 children. Because she'd be like, what are you doing? She'd be like, I'm at home with 13 kids crying my eyes out. What are you doing? She's like, we're over at Hot Gym Guy's house. She's like, what? She's like, yeah, Eddie and I are over at Hot Gym Guy's house. Always time. And they would joke. Jennifer admits that they would joke about Hot Gym Guy, who is Ryan, and all this stuff. And I go, and apparently she'd be like running on the Tamra would be like running on the treadmill. She'd like flash Ryan, like her boobs and stuff like
Tamra
that.
would?
Tamra would. Tamra was flirting with Ryan this whole time.
She was married to Eddie.
And she's married to Eddie. But who is the quote unquote married woman that he goes for? The separated Jen Pedranti.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't like to think that I'm always willing to throw a man under the bus before a woman, but I'm willing to throw Tamra under the bus in this way. I think that Tamra is fucking furious that Ryan chose Jen over her to fuck.
Mhm.
And I think it is just a primal thing. I think it's barely cognizant with inside of her, but she feels rejected by Ryan and she's so mad. And especially because Ryan has all this money. So where did Ryan get all this money? Because Eddie doesn't have all this money. Oh, well, it's gotta be fake. Well, it is kind of fake. So she's not wrong about that. But if I can't be happy, then Jennifer definitely can't be happy. No.
It's called Hell Hath No Fury Like a Woman Scorned.
Exactly.
She's
And
on the path.
and Tamra is not a girl's girl. Tamra does not like other women. She always has to be the alpha. She always has to be number one. She does not like to see other women succeed. I'm sorry, like Vicky doesn't like to see other women succeed. No, Tamra definitely doesn't like to see women succeed. But she doesn't like to see other women succeed at these very primal patriarchal ways of like, how dare you take a man from me type of way. And that's my theory. That is my theory. Leave a comment in our YouTube if you disagree, and I'll take it.
My theory is that Tamra is running her own money laundering empire, and Ryan is the competition
through that empty gym, that mysteriously empty gym.
Yes. So they are actually big competitors, and Tamra is the one who got him on the FBI's watch list. So that is my theory. Is way simpler than yours, obviously.
Yeah. But no, I mean, look, spurned lovers is always the simplest way. A spurned lover is always that. Like, dude, you just rejection. Hello. Many a stalker has been born out of rejection. So like, why would Tamra Barney Judge be the exception to the rule?
I had a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you go, because mine was kind of a tangent, but it has to do with this last meal, this last dinner, the English roast they went to, which was the big finale fight.
Right, that's right. I was like Heather, so Heather and Shannon had yet another sit down, and this one to me, I mean, Heather is on. I don't know what Heather's thing is right. Obviously, it's very produced, but she sees a fight. She sees some kind of tension. She's like, let's talk, Shannon. This is like the second time on the trip. Last episode, she came upstairs and was like, you're mad at me. Let's talk. This time she was like, your back's turned to me. Let's talk.
Yeah, that was
so
weird.
Random too. It's like she just sat down. She's like, there's half the table is the other way. Oh, your back is to me.
This is something that probably comes from producers. Like, let's get this outside scene shot. And but it was just like a rehash of everything we've heard the past. It didn't move anything forward.
It was so that Tamra could set up the throwing Shannon under the bus to Gina.
Get Shannon out. They had Heather get Shannon away from the dinner table, because Heather and Shannon's fight, like I just said, didn't move. It was a rehash. It was boring. We've been it. It was to get her away so they could smart.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, and it could have been producer, or it could have just been Tamra and Heather going, "That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this." Emily could have even been there too and just been like, "Fine, you guys do whatever you want to do."
I'm still confused about the whole thing with the Jeff Lewis show, with the photo, the bloody photo. How exactly does Heather think she was wronged? I'm confused. Like, what is it? It doesn't have anything to do with her.
There's like I don't know the full story, but viewers over the years can pick up. There have been, I think what Heather's trying to say is that she felt used in that, and she says it out here, you drip info when it's convenient for you. She tells each person a different version and hopes they don't talk, and then she panics when they start comparing notes. So I don't think it was a big deal for for how upset Heather is.
Yeah, that's why I was
But
confused.
But I do see where it's kind of like she's like, okay, so this happened, but don't tell anyone. Then you hear Shannon goes to another person. So this all happened. And then you get what I mean? She tells different versions. That's what Heather basically said. You drip information to different people when it's convenient for you. And wait, she said, I wrote it. This was like breaking the fourth wall. She said, what was it? You're framing your narrative. Is that what she said?
Yeah.
So that I think what Heather's talking about is a show issue more than.
Yeah. I mean, coming from Heather, who frames her narrative if we haven't seen some of the most set up scenes between her and Terry, like, come on. I mean, also, I see it both ways. I mean, I don't think that Heather should be as upset as she is. I see though too that Shannon would confide in Tamra and Vicky because they were her best friends at the time of like when this came out. At that, she would also be confiding in Jeff because Jeff is one of her best friends, period. Like they've been friends for 30, 40 years now. And then she would maybe of the cast members, Tamra's the only one who knew this stuff. And so then she comes to Heather. She's like, okay, I'm going to talk to Heather about this. We will talk about it on camera because, but I don't want to talk about it with all the other women. Only Tamra knows. So, but then for Heather to go, well, Tamra already told me, so it must not be a big deal. It's like, well, no, it is a big deal because quote unquote, Tamra was Shannon's best friend. That's a best friend conversation here. This wasn't a group conversation. Like it'd be different if you're like, oh, I also heard it from Emily and I heard it from Gina. I heard from all these other people. So, and then she has a conversation. But I mean, I get it that then she's willing to talk about it publicly on Jeff Lewis.
That's what with Shannon.
It's a little confusing. I just don't think that she should be as mad as she is.
Yeah, I don't think Heather should be as angry about it. But for Shannon. But after Heather actually said in this, you've been doing this for years. And that's where, and they did the flashback. They did the flashback to my favorite Orange County. I would have died. I should have had Heather ask me to leave. Oh my God.
You want that cameo.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can't believe I was just trying to play it cool and it was brief. It wasn't like she's not going to smoke a cig with me or anything. But yeah, I like lit up when they flashed back to that scene.
Next time you see Heather, be like, hey, I don't want a selfie. I just want you to tell me.
Can you like let me upstairs to your penthouse at the Century for like 2 minutes? Because you're going to immediately tell me we're done. Please leave. I just need that. Yeah. No. But so I think these are more of off-camera frustrations with being on a show together than they are about honesty or friendship. This is Heather and Shannon's issue seems to be like what we tell each other off camera versus then on Jeff Lewis, another radio show. And these are like technical issues more than like emotional.
Yeah, I would agree. And Shannon finally leaves. Apparently Shannon did leave. Like she officially left. Like
took an early flight
took an early flight. She took an early flight and left. Yeah. Because she was so fed up. I was like, oh, you finally pooped and then you left.
I mean, and the cake was comedically perfect. The cake coming out.
It was comedically perfect. And then it was disgusting how, of course, Tamra took
I was going to say, she was the one holding it at the end. Yeah.
And then said, happy birthday to me. And so many people on social media are like, I think that is actually the nail in a lot of people's coffins when it comes to Tamra. It was like, wait a minute. And now you have stolen her cake. You actually took her cake in your hand and you blew out her own candles and you said, happy birthday to me. You stole Shannon's birthday cake. I think that was like a line too far for a lot of people. It's like, you stole this woman's birthday cake now. Fuck no. Like it only would have been worse if Alexis had stolen her birthday cake.
Oh my, yeah. Is Alexis done for the season?
No, they've got this final party with John Jansen's going to be there.
Oh, okay. Because it was her last scene where she kicks the girls out. It was kind of like done, but
I mean, thank God we haven't had to see her for what, 3
Yeah, I
episodes?
know. It's like things have moved forward so much. We haven't heard about Alexis and Johnny J for a couple episodes.
Well, this is this is the third episode in London, and I was shocked when Shannon, I think when they were showing up at the last dinner, when Shannon's like, "Oh, this has been 4 days of hell," and I was like, "It feels like you've been there for months. You've only been there for 4 days. Good Lord."
I think production does. First of all, production gets these trips they're not going to give them a 2-week vacation. These aren't vacations. These are trips to cause drama. And I was like doing the math on the 4 days because it takes, how long of a flight that is.
Mhm.
They're exhausted. It's miserable. They don't have any downtime or time to recover. And then it's like, that's the brilliance of it. They are going to be tired and miserable and cranky, and they're going to fight on this trip.
Yeah,
They ran them into the ground.
Orange County to London, you're already jet lagged those first 2 days, if not more.
Yeah, they would have to come up to LAX and then go. I don't know if they had stops. I think they had stops.
I think
Wasn't there a flight
you
issue?
mentioned last week that they had issues.
Yeah, this is what I heard. So they had to fly to New York, and they were supposed to fly to JFK, but apparently their turbulence was so bad they had to fly. They got diverted to Rochester. So then they had to stop and the turbulence was so they got sick. Like apparently Emily got sick. Like everybody was freaking scared. So they got diverted to Rochester and then eventually made it down to JFK and then flew to London. But what was supposed to be, however, a 16-hour trip ended up being a 20-hour trip or something like that. It ended up being a lot longer and very, very hard on everybody because of the turbulence making everybody sick. So yeah.
So that's why I was like, when she said 4 days, I couldn't, but that is such a schlep.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, duh, these people are going to be miserable. It's going to be from the audience standpoint, it's great because they're on each other's last nerve. So
that's why Gina was like, I had to get up early to curl Emily's hair. And she's like, that was your pitch. She's like, yeah, I wanted to still be asleep. It's like, girl, I don't get it. Curl your own damn hair, Emily.
Then you get the Shannon storms out while her cake's coming in. Then you get that great confessional line from her where she said, "Me walking out that door, that's called growth." And it's like, no, you literally do this every single time. This is the opposite of growth.
I was laughing at that because that's what she does. I was just like, if Tamra walked out, that would be growth.
Yeah.
Or Heather, no, but that is what Shannon for growth for Shannon would be sitting there and being like, listen, bitch.
Well,
no.
You've mentioned this before, that the only one Shannon's truly stood up to this year was Alexis. What's the one time this whole season Shannon wasn't the one to storm away? Was at Heather's sad event at the club, earlier on. Remember the fight? The fight between Alexis and Shannon outside, and that's Alexis where she did, or there's the door, Shannon Beador. She's the one that stormed off. It's the only time this whole season that Shannon was not the one to storm off, and it was against Alexis. It's the only person she stood up to.
Yeah. You will all see the truth.
Oh, my completely off topic thing, Stacy, was more directed at you. It annoys me when people do what Heather did when she's just, why don't you decide for me to the server?
Ugh.
That's got to be annoying, right? I've not worked in food service, but that's got to be annoying as hell when a customer's like, just pick something for me.
Especially as we know, because I clocked that. I was like, as picky as that woman is, God, probably completely different saying, what are your favorites on here?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be comfortable if a friend said, to me, oh, why don't you pick something for me? You know what I like. This poor server has no idea. She's just like, you want me to do what? The only thing I can assume is she gave her the roast chicken because everybody else got the roast chicken. Yeah. So that's the only thing I'm assuming.
Or she said, pick whatever you like, because Heather was like, I ain't going to eat anything anyway.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. That's what it was. Because earlier, an hour or two, whatever, they were getting donuts off the street or something. Everyone's like, Heather, you're not going to eat one. Don't stop lying. And she did. And I think those were her calories for the day.
Day.
It's like,
Yeah, that's the meal.
pick something you like, waiter. You'll be taking it home untouched,
Mhm.
like the leftovers.
Yup.
Well,
Mhm.
God, still writing. Hi. What we need, and it doesn't cost you guys anything. We're not fancy pants. We're free pants.
Speak for yourself.
All you need to do is click. You don't need to take us for champagne or caviar or buy us Burberry scarves. We can buy them ourselves. If you just click, hit subscribe, share,
Actually,
rate,
I will take a
review.
Burberry scarf. Thank you very much. My
But
birthday's coming up.
but yeah, all you have to do is rate, review, subscribe, and follow. Make sure to hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube as well.
Mhm. Yeah, remember YouTube. We want those 500 subscribers by this Thursday. And also this Thursday, I'll be dropping the natal chart of Shannon Beador. Shannon Storms Beador part dose. Listen out for it. It's fun.
And those PCP branded enemas should probably be dropping by Christmas. We're hoping to get them out by Christmas. A perfect gift for your loved one.
We're hoping to get them out. They're gonna
Yes.
drop.
I did that on purpose. Yes.
Just for that top of the morning, darlings.